The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hello, this is Edward Caston for another edition of Making It Happen. Tonight I have the Scouts of America. I have Kevin Corkin and I have Kelly Bacon. Like the food, no joke. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us here.
And what do we have here?
Yeah, so we brought a few props we thought you might like. So we got Scout popcorn. This is our big fundraiser in the fall. The Scouts go out and sell popcorn to help pay to go to camp.
And how much do they really sell? Like, do these Scouts get really involved and they sell? Is it like a competition between the two of them? I mean, between the Scouts sometimes?
I'd say so.
Yeah, especially at pack level when they get awards for it, when they get prizes.
What are some of the prizes?
They have, they get pocket knives, mess kits, tents, gift cards.
Yep, and then at the higher levels too, if they sell a certain amount, they can go to like the Timber Rattlers games for free or the Milwaukee Bucks. We have a Star Wars movie at the movie theater.
Okay.
So there's a lot of fun activities.
So just a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And what does this car represent down here?
Yep, so this car is actually one I made when I was a kid in third grade, and that's for our Pinewood Derby. So this is a big event that the Cub Scouts get to do, and it starts off as a block of wood. They can design it however they want. Then the parents help, with the cutting it out, but they sand it and paint it, and they race it down a big track with their friends. And it's a big competition too. Where they
do you remember how you placed? I'm not trying to make you
Yeah.
old here, but
well, on this one I got third place.
okay. Out of how many cars?
I think we had eight kids in our den that year, and then I got first place with another car. So.
And do the Scouts really get into that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's their big deal.
Because they try to make the coolest or shiniest car or the fastest car?
Yep. Yeah. So actually, there's different prizes too for Scouts that have like best in show, so like the coolest design, and then also ones for racing, speed wise. And
what does this lovely log represent? You can even turn it on.
Oh yeah, sure. So without Scouts, you have to have a campfire because we learn how to build fires. I was told you were bringing the marshmallows and chocolate.
Sorry, we can't have a fire. We can't have a fire in here tonight.
Yeah.
Fire code, but so how long have you two been with Scouts?
So I've been working for the Boy Scouts full time for 5 years now, a little over 5 years. But I've been in Scouts since I was a first grader, so a little over, I guess, 15, 16 years.
And how has that impacted your life? It wasn't on the sheet, but how has it impacted your life from a little boy to now?
I think scouting definitely, helped me as a youth. And, for one, it got me a job, working for the Boy Scouts. But I'd say, really helped development. I got to do a lot of stuff with my dad because he was a scout leader that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. And just experience, we traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. with Scouts. Just some of the high adventure trips I never would have done as a kid.
And what did you do in Washington?
I was there for our 100th anniversary celebration, the National Jamboree. So in 2010 was the Boy Scouts of America's 100th anniversary. So we had a huge celebration with over 60,000 kids there. So
wow, that's something special.
Oh yeah, it was an awesome celebration and a great event.
And how has Scouts impacted you personally?
Personally, I think, now as an adult, reflecting on, what it was like being a Scout, I can definitely see, the different values that I live nowadays, following the Scout oath and law in my everyday life.
What is the Scout oath? Maybe we can see it here on the TV. What is the Scout oath?
You want to do it with me?
Sure.
All right. So the Scout oath is on my honor.
On my honor.
I'll do my best. To do my duty, to God
my
and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake,
and
and morally straight.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got it.
We did it. So you never know what you never know what kind of question I'm gonna ask. So when was Scouts founded, and when did it come to Oshkosh here? You know, when did?
Well, it was founded February 8th of 1910.
Okay.
And when it came to Oshkosh,
That I don't know.
I know Oshkosh was one of the first, cities to have a scout group. So it was shortly after February 8th of 1910 that there was a scout group here. We actually have a building that dates back to the 1930s at camp from the Scouts in the Oshkosh area.
That's cool. So it's probably 70 some years old now.
Oh yeah.
But they've upkept it, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah, some. I mean, it's an older building, so it's hard to upkeep. It's at one of our previous camps that we don't own currently. So.
And Kelly, to backtrack now, they've introduced girls into Scouts.
Correct.
How does that transition into having girls in the Scouts? How does that make you feel? Because there hasn't been starting with Title 19. I'm gonna bring Title 19 up here. If nobody knows Title 19, there hasn't been a whole lot of opportunities for women. You know, so how does that make you feel you both feel on a personal level? I'll let Kelly answer first.
Honestly, when they first did it, I wasn't sure about it because I felt, they had Girl Scouts and they had Boy Scouts. It was separate. After staffing for NYLT and seeing them work together, I was fully on board with it. Now my pack and troop both have girls in it. It's worked out great.
How many do you have in your troop right now?
In the troop we have 1 girl, and in the pack we have 2.
Okay, that's cool. And then how do you guys promote the whole thing with girls and boys to get them interested in scouting?
Yes, that's one thing we've been working on since girls were allowed to be in Cub Scouts just this last fall. So it's fairly new to our program at the Cub Scout level. We've had girls in scouting since the 70s in our co-ed high adventure levels, so the 14 to 21-year-olds. So Cub Scouts, in the fall, we do a lot of going to the schools, handing out flyers to help promote scouting and talk about scouting with the younger kids. And then for our older kids, starting February 1st, they opened up to have girl troops alongside, and some of them are partner with the current boy troops. And we've just been promoting in the schools or with families of, current scouts to help get more girls into our scout programs.
Cool. And Kelly, to backtrack on that now, do the girls feel comfortable in Scouts? Do they feel accepted?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do they feel included?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
They work together. It's just like being in school for them. They work together at school. They work together the same in Scouts.
So there's no bullying involved? There's no, I'm better than you?
We haven't had any of that in our pack or troop.
Yeah, so we had a camporee recently where there's scouts from all over Winnebago, Waushara, and Wapaka counties. And some of the girls were there competing against, some our current boys who have been in the program for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And these girls just joined in February, and they actually did better than some of our boy troops in the competition.
And what was the competition?
So there's knot tying relays, lashings, fire building, so see who could build a fire to burn a rope the quickest.
And I didn't grow up in Scouts, but what does that teach? Does that teach them a lot of life skills or the hands-on skills, how to do stuff if they're ever caught in a disaster, or let's say if they're trapped in the woods and don't know how to build a fire? Is that?
Sure. Yeah, that's so part of our program, as you know, is the outdoor skills and teaching the kids that.
Yeah.
But really, I think our program's all about the values and morals, and so we try to do. While we're teaching, about character development and all, the Scout Oath and Law that we just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
We're also doing it in a fun setting, so in the outdoors, and teaching them these, survival skills. And we've actually found out through studies that 1 in 100 kids will actually use, scouting to save someone else's life, if they come across, an emergency situation, and 2 in 100 will use scouting to save their own life.
but that's how it comes back to that oath, because of helping others, you know.
Right.
Right.
Not just helping others, but helping the community, you know.
Right.
So, now as far as has scouting come a long ways in the last 100 years? Because you said you just celebrated your 100th jamboree. What have some of the changes been since the 100 years? I'm sure it's come a long ways.
Yes, I'd say, since our 100th anniversary in 2010, even since then we've had a lot of changes, just being more, STEM related, so the science, technology, engineering, and math. So we have a lot more merit badges that relate to those skills, more, computer-based as well, technology-based that we didn't have, in the previous, 100 years. So otherwise we've been really sticking to our values and morals and still teaching those same skills, because we feel, kids 100 years ago and 100 years from now could still use those values that we teach.
Do you want to talk about some of the badges they earn and what it takes for them to earn them?
Sure. Do you want to mention some of the ones you're looking at?
Something else. Well, there's canoeing, there's like first aid, there's emergency response.
Yeah, I think
There's
we have
horsemanship, welding.
Is it for every activity you do, there's a badge involved pretty much?
for the most part, we
Yeah,
have
like
over
so.
125 different merit badges that scouts can
So
earn.
you could really fill up your uniform if you
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
you can do one for even hiking or backpacking or camping. I mean there's basically anything you can think of, you can earn a merit badge in.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of our merit badges are either career-based, so something that the scouts can learn about, go on to after they graduate high school, or it's like hobby-based, so like something, kayaking or fishing, some of those fun activities too.
And is it based on, it's not based on a point system, is it? Or is it just, or you said it's based on activity, so if you finish that activity, then you get a badge, right?
Well, there's certain requirements that the scouts have to earn. So like for every merit badge, there could be, anywhere from 5 to, say, 20 different requirements.
Okay.
So some of them are, that you can do this or that, or some of them you have to do, write a letter to your senator, or, go to a town hall meeting. And then some of it might be, you can either do a, 5-mile hike, or, a biking trip or whatever, so there's lots of
Kevin
different
or Kelly,
options.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but what is one of the most biggest projects that you guys did, especially Kevin, what's one of the biggest projects that really impacted your life growing up in the Scout? Like, did you write a letter to the senator, or did you do anything?
Yeah, so I had to do that. I'd say the biggest impact for me would have been my Eagle Scout project.
And what did you do for that?
It was at a nature preserve, and I grew up in Green Bay, but just north of there is a nature preserve, and one of the parts of it was doing landscaping and planting native trees and grasses so that the kids could learn about it. And then the biggest part of the project actually was one of their buildings wasn't handicap accessible, so I actually put in a brick path that was smooth that made it wheelchair accessible to get to that building.
And you did this with a little bit of help from your leader, or
From my scouts, so
from your scouts?
and that's part of the.
So you had everybody involved, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had probably over 20 different people that came, and I was to give leadership to the project. So I wasn't supposed to touch any of the tools or do any of that stuff, but I was supposed to lead the project. So I helped lead my scouts and leaders in putting the whole project together.
Did you feel like a true leader then? Did you designate? Did you divide up into teams, or how big was your troop at the time?
Yeah, so there was about 25 people, and we had about 20 there. So I had a pretty good sized troop. But yeah, I definitely felt like I learned a lot of leadership skills, and I was more of a servant leader, so it was really hard not to be alongside digging out the path or planting the trees, and having to do more of the leadership side of it and organizing it definitely helped me out a lot.
And just to backtrack here a little bit, what were you guys' jobs before the Scouts?
Yeah, you want to talk about some of your careers?
I spent 10 years working for the DNR at a state park. Is what I did before. Basically being a stay-at-home mom, I work for our family farm now. But other than that, I worked for the DNR, and I worked in nursing in the medical field for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And would you say that this job is...
This is my hobby.
Yeah.
This is your hobby?
This is my hobby.
Yeah, and I've worked, before scouting, I've actually only worked for one other organization, and that was at Northern Michigan University. Otherwise, I only did camp staff and worked on summer camp staff for 10 years with the Boy Scouts before working full-time professionally.
What did you do? What was your job at Northern?
I was a custodian, so student custodian was getting through college.
On that note, let's talk about some of the activities you guys do throughout the year, like for bonding and stuff. Like, do you guys have like campfires or scout outings, or what do you guys do for a normal calendar year? I know it's a loaded question, but
Sure. Yeah, you.
It changes from year to year.
yeah.
Where our troop is brand new this year, and so is our pack. The only thing we've gotten in so far is 2 campouts. We did Camporee at Twin Lakes this year, and then we did just a pack and troop camp out together there as well.
What is Camboree? Is that boys and girls combined?
That's a bunch of different troops all together, getting together for a camp out. And next year we have planned to camp at Eagle Cave.
How many were at that camp out?
The
At
Camporee.
Camporee.
We had over about 150 people total.
Was that from Oshkosh all the way up to UP? Or?
No, it was just it was Winnebago with Sharon, Wapaka counties,
Okay.
which is the territory that we cover.
Okay.
So in that territory we
There was
have
still a pretty good turnout
yeah.
for that, yeah.
Yeah.
because we have about close to 300 some scouts in that county area.
And what do you guys do on a camp out like that? Do you tell campfire stories? Do you teach certain skills? Do you talk about certain things?
So like each camporee usually has a different theme. So this one was all about survival skills and kind of a survivor theme.
Right.
But some of them can be, like we have one coming up that's going to be Scottish games. So they're going to do all themed on different Scottish games like the caber toss and golf. So each camporee, I guess, has a different theme to it, and then the activity is all centered around that theme.
Cool. So, who decides that? Does the troop side decide that themselves? The leader, who decides what theme?
So yeah, we really like to we're a youth run organization at the troop level. So we really like to have the kids give an input of what they'd like to see.
Okay.
So in our district, we've had a rotation of different troops kind of plan out the camporees, and we leave it up to the kids. So this last one, the Amro troop, actually planned the camporee.
Okay.
And then the one before that, we had an Oshkosh troop that helped plan the camporee.
And how many are in? Is there only one Oshkosh troop, or is there several Oshkosh troops?
Yeah, so we have 6 different troops in Oshkosh, and then we have troops in the surrounding communities too.
And Kevin, if somebody wanted to join the Oshkosh troop, or Kelly, what do they do? Do they go to the website? How can they find you guys?
You can go on the website and search your location, and it'll give you a list of the troop numbers and where they're located. So, and over by me, there's 2 different troops. There's one in Plainfield and one in Hancock. So they can put in if they're from any of the surrounding areas, and it gives you, I think, a 20-mile radius of your zip code, and it'll give you the list of all the troops and the contacts for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's beascout.org is the website.
beascout.org.
Yep.
Can they also find it on? I think I have another website up here, and I might have just had it up here is scout.gov. Can they find it on scout.gov too, or no?
Scouting.
Or scouting.gov.
Scouting.org, I think, has it.
Org, I mean.
Yeah, I think you can get to the same website.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Kelly, you said there's only 2 girls in your troop right now, or was there 2?
I have 1 in the troop and 2 in the pack. So
What's the difference between troop and a pack?
the pack is kindergarten through 4th grade. Well, halfway through 5th is when they cross over to the troop.
Okay.
So halfway through 5th and up to 18 would be troop level.
Okay. And what kind of have you had good feedback from parents, or
Yeah.
about their kid enjoying it? Because it's new to the Scouts, so it's,
Yeah. Most of our parents, they sit in the corner and watch. Right now our troop has a total of 8 Scouts right now. And the parents that come, we talk on a regular basis after the meetings, and we haven't had any negative feedback on any of it yet. Hopefully it stays that way.
Branching off that, this show is about the Scouts, but it's also about inclusion. And I'm disabled too, would you guys like to see more disabled people join Scouts? Because it's not about ability, it's about inclusion, coming together, being one. It's not, so.
Yeah, that's something like that we definitely want to see in all of our different scouting groups is Scouts of all abilities, backgrounds, socioeconomic background, different socioeconomic levels, and all different kinds of races. We want to make sure that we represent the community. So that's something that I've been working hard on. Is I want to see our scouting groups look just like our schools do here in Oshkosh, and Kelly is actually volunteering to help us make sure that all Scouts feel included, of different special needs as well. And we've had lots of kids with different special needs join scouting too. And
Kelly, what I know that you belong to the special needs committee, but what's your role on the committee, and how many people are on that committee, and what are the different roles?
Well, right now they're working on rebuilding
Okay.
the committee. I think you said there's 6.
Yeah, I think around there.
So we're just starting it back up. It's something new.
Yeah. So I think the biggest role of the committee is, one is helping get more Scouts interested, or families interested in joining scouting, who maybe think they can't join. And then the second would be, once they're in scouting, helping leaders know if there's a requirement that needs to be changed, to adapt to help the scout, or just learning how to work with a scout with maybe Asperger's or ADHD.
Well, you said that there's a lot of kids that want it. It's just the parents get scared.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a fear.
Yep. So yeah, we actually I heard a story about a mom. She spoke at one of our dinners. This was probably 8 years ago now. But she said she was pushing her son in a wheelchair past the scout table, and her husband stopped at the table and was talking to the leaders about scouting, and she's like, "Oh no, I can't remember his name, at the time, maybe Mark. Oh, he can't join scouting because he's in a wheelchair." And the leader's like, "Oh no, that's
so stereotypical."
Yeah, and so she was telling the story, and she's like really glad that her husband talked to him, and so they stopped, talked to him. The boy joined scouting, and she said she was in tears that first meeting because all the other little boys pushed him around and included him in the games and activities, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad my husband, talked to that leader about joining scouting because, Mark would have never got this experience." And the kids were so inclusive and just treated him like any other kid,
so
at the scout
it
meeting.
turned out okay. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you had to say a message to the camera, to the parents, what do you want to say to the parents tonight that maybe their boy or son really wants to? Because boys are competitive. They like to fight. They like to be involved, no matter what their disability. What would you like to say, Kevin and Kelly? What would you like to say to the camera, to those parents?
Well, I'd say, now, boys or girls, so sons or daughters can join.
Yeah, sons or daughters.
But, we have scouts of all different backgrounds and abilities, and We have leaders like Kelly that are willing to work with all of our scouts and make them feel included. And I'd say scouting's a very safe place, and we like to make it a safe place for all kids to feel welcome. And it really helps teach the boys and the girls now that scouts of all youth of all backgrounds can be included, and they learn to work with youth from different backgrounds that they normally wouldn't maybe meet at school or in different situations.
Because if they're not exposed to it, maybe they don't know how to handle it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We see that a lot with, there are some places where kids with disabilities kept separate. They're in different classrooms. And so
I
have
remember
groups
I remember when I grew up, people with disabilities were in mental institutions. We've come a long ways, but we have a long ways to go yet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had, at NYLT last year, we had one of our patrols where we had a scout that they didn't realize that his brain processed things differently, so they thought he was just getting mad. And once it was explained to the rest of the group that, he processes differently than you do, try to sit down and talk as a group. And then the group got along amazing, because then they understood that just because he learns things differently or works on things differently doesn't mean that he's getting mad. It's that we just need to work together and work in a different way. And I mean, with my pack, I have 2 autistic scouts and 1 with ADHD. And nobody looks at them any different.
And they don't let their disability or get in the way?
No, not at all.
Okay.
They work together so well, you would never guess that there's any difference between any of them. They learn how to adapt and how to work around each other.
Well, Kelly, what are some of the strides that they've made since joining that you've seen?
I have one that she's very argumentative. She suffers from ADHD, and it's hurdles she has come over. It's amazing.
What kind of hurdles?
Just her mind gets set on one thing, and she would argue about everything.
Okay.
And by the end of the school year, you're kind of like, okay, well, let's think of this in a different way. And she was willing to look at that in a different way and think about it in different ways instead of just having one mind setting and arguing with everybody.
So it's not only helped her her scouting so far, but it's helped her everyday life.
Yeah. She's done really good, and even
Have her grades improved too, or?
I don't know.
Okay. And Kevin, I know you wanted to share a story about one of our boys, one of the boys that we talked about previously.
Sure. I don't have too much time, but yeah, one of our actually an Eagle Scout up in the UP, Joey, amazing kid. He's in a wheelchair, but he doesn't let him that stop him. He did an awesome Eagle project where he set out beach mats at the local beach so that wheelchairs could get to the beach and have it accessible for everyone. He actually got to go meet the governor of Michigan and give the report to the state for scouting.
That's really impressive to think of that, to get out it's something he wanted to get on the beach, so he placed mats there. It's really impressive and really intelligent. And that's that same kid that did the band too.
Yep. So he was he was marching with a bunch of other scouts for our honor guard program on Mackinac Island, where they're on the governor's honor guard, and they get to raise and lower the flags every day at the local fort on the island as a part of the governor's honor guard. But one thing that really impressed me was he did our Iron Scout Challenge. So he had a canoe for 2 miles, and then the scouts had to hike for 5 and bike for 10. And he did those 15 miles all in his wheelchair.
Wow.
With a hand crank. He had a whole hand crank system on his wheelchair. And the scouts kept offering him rides to come back into camp. But he persevered and finished the whole Iron Scout Challenge. It took him most of the day, but that really impressed me, and everyone was cheering him on when he came back to camp. It was really cool to see.
So within our last 30 seconds, what's one last message you two both want to leave with, that you guys want to say to the community?
I say scouting's for everyone, every ability.
Yeah, no matter what you got going on, anybody's welcome.
And
We're
you
happy
won't be
to have
judged,
anybody.
right? You won't be
Nope.
judged?
Nope, not at all.
All right, this is Edward Castern for making it happen. Thanks for joining us.